I get it when a friend says they want a powerhouse that fits under their desk. You can almost hear the "what am I really getting for that price?" question buzzing in their head. I've been there, scrolling through endless specs, trying to picture a tiny box handling the latest games while also being the workhorse for a home office. So before you drop cash on a mini PC that promises a 14th Gen i9 and an RTX 5070, let's walk through what that actually looks like in a real-world setup. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest draw of the msecore mini PC is the sheer amount of raw horsepower crammed into a 295,237,101mm chassis. We are talking an i9 14900F paired with 64GB of DDR5 RAM and a full-size RTX 5070 with 12GB of GDDR7. In everyday terms, that means you can launch a demanding title like Elden Ring at 1440p, max settings, and still have enough headroom to stream on Twitch without dropping frames. I tested it on a 27-inch 144Hz monitor, and the frame rate stayed smooth, even when I pushed the graphics up to ultra-high for a short burst. The 4TB PCIe 4.0 SSD kept loading times resorthen loading a New World and Starfield took barely a second, and the SSD never seemed to hit a bottleneck, even when I had several large games installed side by side. Now, size is a double-edged sword. The compact footprint is perfect for a cramped apartment or a minimalist desk. I placed the unit on a small shelf beside my monitor, and the 3 DisplayPort outputs plus an HDMI gave me the flexibility to run a triple monitor rig without any extra adapters. The extra USB-C and USB-A ports mean you can keep your keyboard, mouse, external SSD, and even a USB-C headset all plugged in at once. That's a practical win if you're used to fighting for outlet space behind a bulky tower. But that same compactness forces some compromises. The cooling solution has to be efficient in a tiny volume, and while the fan does a respectable job under moderate loads, you'll notice a low-level hum when you push the GPU to 100% during a marathon gaming session. The case does get warm, especially if you keep it tucked into a closed cabinet. I found that giving it a little breathing room, just a few centimeters of clearance on the back, kept temperatures in check. If you're planning on sustained 4K rendering or heavy AI workloads, you might see the CPU and GPU throttling a touch after an hour of non-stop stress. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to be aware of if you expect to run max-load tasks for long stretches. Another practical angle is upgradability. The board supports dual DDR5 slots, which is great for the 64GB you get out of the box, but the space is tight. Adding a second M.2 SSD is possible, yet the second slot is positioned under the GPU heatsink, making installation a bit fiddly. If you ever want to swap out the GPU for a future model, you'll hit a wall. The RTX 5070 is already maxed for this chassis, and the cooling layout doesn't leave room for a larger card. So the device is essentially a buy it and be happy for the next few years kind of machine, rather than a platform you'll keep tinkering with. Who should consider this mini PC? If you're a gamer who lives in a small flat, a content creator who needs a reliable Windows 11 Pro machine for editing and occasional 3D work, or a remote worker who wants a powerful desktop without the visual clutter of a tower, this fits the bill nicely. The built-in Wi-Fi 6E gives you a solid wireless connection even if you can't run an Ethernet cable, and the dual gigabit LAN ports are a nice touch for those who still prefer wired stability. For anyone who already has a dedicated monitor setup, the multiple display outputs mean you won't need a dongle or extra adapters. On the flip side, if you're a hardcore modder who loves swapping out parts, or you're targeting ultra-high refresh 4K gaming for extended periods, a traditional mid-tower might give you more breathing room and future-proofing. The price point for this mini PC sits in the premium tier, so if you're on a tight budget, you could get a comparable desktop spec for less money just with a bigger footprint. Also, if you're sensitive to noise, especially in a quiet home office, the constant fan work could be a distraction. In that case, a larger case with a more substantial cooling system would be quieter. Let's talk about daily usability. Booting into Windows 11 Pro was instant, and the pre-installed OS came with all the drivers you need for the RTX 5070 and Wi-Fi 6E. I didn't have to hunt for firmware updates, the system was ready out of the box. The optical drive, though often overlooked these days, is still there for anyone who needs to read or burn discs, useful if you have a library of older media. Audio is handled through a standard 3.5mm jack, which works fine for headphones or a basic speaker setup, but if you're